Hey everybody, welcome to My Green Pets. This is William Green, and we're in my apartment. I'm going to show you the plants that I have here, and then I'll take you over to the greenhouse so you can see what is going on with those plants. We had a snowstorm yesterday, so it snowed all day long, and so it's kind of cold outside, but it's supposed to warm up this weekend, be sunny, so that'll be nice. So let's just get right to it and see what we have here at home. First of all, I want to say thank you to Sandy. Special thanks to you for this plant stand. Now I have multiple levels to keep my orchids on, so I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much. Okay, on the top shelf I've got my Path Prime Child, which is putting out new growth. I've got my Path Urbanianum, which has got 2 buds on this spike and then another bud on another spike coming up. I got my Clavia miniata, which has dropped most of its flowers, but it's still got 3 on the stem there, and hopefully the new leaves are going to grow out and look nice, and this plant is going to be much healthier than it has been. And then I've got my gorgeous Phalaenopsis schilleriana, and I'll get him down in a second so you can see what it looks like from the front. But I love how all of the flowers, or at least most of the flowers, are facing the same direction. So it's a really, really nice little show. Second shelf down, I've got 2 more, or actually all paths. This is my tonsum, Path tonsum, and then this is Path appletonianum, which has got a really wonky looking flower and a bud as well that's starting to open up, so that's great. And then over here we've got my Path villosum with a new growth pushing out, and then we've got my Path Michael Kopowitz, which I'm really excited looking at the roots. The roots are really kind of growing out now, and that's definitely a good sign. And then underneath the next shelf down, I've got just plain old no ID Phalaenopsis. Lots of nice root growth actually. And I'm doing an experiment. I have one little root that is in a shot glass of water, and just constantly in water there, and I'm just curious if that is helping the plant stay hydrated. Not sure, but I think it's kind of an interesting experiment. And then next to it I've got a little Path callosum that's got 3 new growths on it, and that plant actually bloomed in June of last year, but it doesn't have any growths that are mature enough to bloom this year, so it's just going to be a bunch of growing for this guy. And then next to it I've got my little calancho here I brought home from work. Jade plant's doing well, and then this really lovely Cattleya or RLC Jessie Lee. It's been in bloom for several weeks. It's still looking pretty good. I would expect that it'll be fading soon, but I'm definitely not hoping for that to happen. It's really done very well. And then over here in this window, this is a Dendrobium Country Girl. And you can see a lot of the flowers are just about done. They're starting to kind of fade. You can see the veins kind of showing through. This middle spike actually bloomed a few weeks after the first 2, so I would expect that it will last a little bit longer. But yeah, it still has a nice fragrance, and it's got some nice new growth at the bottom. I'm really impressed that the root tips on this are staying green, even though it's in my apartment where it's cold and very dry. The humidity in here is only about 30%, but yeah, those green root tips are nice, and there's also some new growth down here as well. So I'll be following the instructions that I've read for these types of dendrobiums. Apparently they like to be to get lots of sunlight, humidity, fertilizer, water during the growing season, but around August or September I will stop fertilizing and then slowly kind of gradually reduce water until they get a cool, dry period in the winter, which then motivates them to bloom in the spring. It's also got some little cakeys that have popped out here on top, so I'm gonna pop those off when the growth gets big enough on them. Look at the roots, just love that. And then I'm going to pot those up, and maybe some of you out there would be interested in a keiki of Dendrobium Country Girl. Okay, so here we are, the lovely display of Phalaenopsis schilleriana. And while we're looking at this plant, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Global Virtual Orchid Show that's going to be happening on April the 4th. I just kind of want to give you an example of what I would suggest that you do. Of course, you can do whatever you want. But for example, like if I'm going to feature this plant in the orchid show, and so I'm going to make a video about this plant, and I'll probably start out with like a faraway shot so that you can see the whole plant, because, I mean, isn't that nice? And then I'm going to show you, kind of zoom in and show the leaves so you can kind of see what the plant itself looks like. And then maybe another shot of just, you know, all of the flowers here. And then maybe one final shot of maybe just one flower, kind of zoomed in so you can really just kind of see the details of one flower. And then when I upload that video, I'm going to title the video GVOS 2020 hyphen Phalaenopsis schilleriana. And that, hopefully, on that day, on April 4th, everyone can get online, everyone can search for GVOS 2020, and it's going to pull up all the videos that people have uploaded on that day. And then you can kind of browse through and you're like, oh, Phal schilleriana, I want to look at that one. So hopefully it's going to make it easier for people to navigate, and it's just going to make it a more enjoyable experience for everybody. But I'm really excited about seeing everyone's videos. It looks like a lot of people are going to participate. Also, if you have a favorite YouTuber that you would like to participate and maybe they don't know about it, or maybe maybe the word hasn't gotten out, feel free to ask them if they would be interested in participating, because, you know, coming from their viewers, it's going to mean a lot more than like coming from me, like I'm not trying to push this on anybody, but it just could be really fun to have more people participate. So that's it, guys. I hope that everyone's staying safe and is finding something to do while isolated at home. So let's go ahead and head over to the greenhouse and see what things are looking like over there. There's a lot of growth happening in the greenhouse right now. It's a great time of year, 12 hours of light, 12 hours of darkness, and everything's just really putting on lots of new growth. Today, before I went to the greenhouse, I stopped by my workplace and picked up the 2 catasetums that I had left there. I went ahead and picked them up and brought them into the greenhouse. So we have the Cycnodes Wine Delight, which the growth is actually quite far along, and it's got several roots pushing out. And then there's this unnamed Fred Clarkar as well that has pushed out several roots, and the growth is pretty tall as well. I'm not going to put plastic over them. I'm just going to let them slowly get a little bit of water. Even though it's a little bit premature, I think they're going to be okay. Now this is the Mormodia Jumbo World that I brought from my apartment, and the new growth on it has no roots yet, so I'm going to keep it covered until its roots are a little bit better developed. Hal, the Bulbophyllum echinolabium, is really gearing up for a nice display. He's got 2 spikes that are growing very quickly, and we should be seeing buds pushing out on those within a month or so. And then he's got a 3rd pseudobulb that's putting out something that I don't know if this is a growth or a spike yet, but I'm hoping for a spike. Another Bulbophyllum that just kind of has come out of nowhere, this is Windlandianum, and you can see that it has a spike with 4 flowers pushing out of the newly developed growth. In fact, this is a really cool bulbo because it blooms before the growths are even completed in the spring. Now let's have a look at these Cattleya rex seedlings. I've got several of them, and all of them are pushing new growth. They're in various states of development. Some of them are potted in bark, some of them are potted in granite, some of them are mounted, some of them are in clay pots, net baskets, air cone pots. They're in all types of different situations. And you know, even though I've had these guys for 6 years now, I still am constantly experimenting to see what type of conditions are the best for them. And it's funny because one plant might be doing really well in a net basket in bark while the plant next to it isn't doing as well. So it's
it's crazy. It's I don't know if I'm ever gonna feel like 100% like I know exactly what these guys need, but I will say the plants that are mounted have, even though they kind of got a slower start the first couple years, they are so well established now that they're doing very, very, very well. This is a Bulbophyllum labia. You can see it's got some pretty nasty spots on the leaves, but it is putting out a new growth, and I'm going to be curious if that new growth also has spots on it. We will keep an eye out for that. I'm hoping it was just a symptom of the cold, wet winter environment in the greenhouse. Next to it is a Stanhopeia oculata, a gift from Kira. Thank you very much. And this has got a new growth pushing out of its latest bulb. Hopefully that's going to look nice too when it pops out. And then we got Diania ophrydis, which was dormant for a couple months in my apartment, just didn't do anything at all. But now it's got a nice, big, robust growth pushing out. Hopefully it's going to have about 4 or 5 more growths pushing out and a really nice blooming display later on this spring. You know, when cattleyas are developing, this is really my favorite part of the leaf development, when the leaf pushes almost all the way out of the sheath and it's folded in half completely, and then in the next few weeks it'll just split open and it becomes more firm and becomes that large succulent leaf that we're used to when we think of the cattleyas. But I just think it's so cool how they develop, the leaf development of these guys. And in fact, lots of orchids, the leaf and inflorescence development is one of the coolest things about them that I really like. Okay, one more little plant. This is Dendrobium tenellum. This was a gift from my neighbor Joe last year, and when he gave it to me, it had 3 little leaves on it. Now it's got, I don't know how many can you count there, 6 or 7. You can see a new one popping up there as well. These quickly become specimen-sized plants that have lots of sprays of lovely white flowers. And that's it, guys. I really appreciate you stopping by to check on My Green Pets. I hope that you are recording your videos for the GVOS show on April 4th. And I would just encourage you to put any photos or videos of orchids that you have, even if they're not currently in bloom, because the goal here is to just make it an awesome show. So can't wait to see that, and I'll see you next time here on My Green Pets.